This Fleet Equipment Unscripted interview is presented by Hendrickson, a leading manufacturer of heavy-duty suspension systems and components to the global commercial transportation industry. Visit hendrickson-intl.com to learn more.
Hey everyone, I'm Jason Morgan, Content Director for Fleet Equipment, and welcome to Fleet Equipment Unscripted. Today we're talking to the man, the myth, the legend, Jeff Sass, Vice President of Marketing at Hendrickson. Jeff, great to see you. Thanks for taking the time.
Good morning, Jason. Thanks for having me. It's always a pleasure.
So we're talking about a big topic today. We're talking global. We're taking a global view here, and I always like these conversations because there is a synergy here. We're here in North America. We build equipment for North American applications, but global companies like Hendrickson have this larger view and see some crisscross. And one of the most recent crisscrosses is the ULTIMAAX suspension is going to be introduced in Europe for heavier applications. Can you just kind of tell me how does that come to pass? And I mean, it's cool to see technology going over to Europe. How's the adoption going?
Well, yeah, the Hendrickson has been in Europe for over a decade, supplying fasteners, U-bolts, stabilizers, and lift axles to the commercial vehicle industry there, but not suspensions. And so we have been working with our counterparts in Europe, many different of the OEMs, on getting the rubber suspensions over there called elastomer suspensions introduced because of the weight savings, the ride benefit that we know that we have based on what we've done here in North America. So we've worked with many of the OEMs, and MAN was the one that really jumped on the opportunity. We were able to get one of their chassis. We retrofitted it with the ULTIMAAX at 26 tons. And then validated it, then gave it to them and let them test it and validate it. And at BAMA a couple years ago, which is a trade show very similar to our ConExpo here in North America, we got a sales code, and it was a great moment. We had a toast in the booth as we received the sales code from MAN, and we've been available now for just over a year. Now, as for adoption, it's been slow. Like any new technology in a market, adoption is slow, and it's a slow ramp. The great news is, though, the early adopters are rebuying. They have come back, and they are the ones that want to have the ULTIMAAX benefits for their trucks. So it's slow, but it is steadily increasing, and every customer that's tried it wants it to rebuy it and take advantage of the benefits of the ULTIMAAX suspension there.
Perfect. Well, yeah, and that's the ULTIMAAX. So fleets here in North America would be extremely familiar with the HALMAX, right? Very popular at the 46,000-pound rating. Do you see that following the ULTIMAAX as a global suspension? I mean, rubber suspensions have been here in North America. You have a ton of experience here within our market. How does that rubber suspension capability best suit our applications, and where do you see it going globally?
We do. We do see HALMAX as the next introduction at the 21-ton rating in Europe. We are working with MAN to expand the offering. It'll probably be renamed, though. It'll probably be the ULTIMAAX 21-ton in Europe. We don't want to confuse the market and have an ULTIMAAX and a HALMAX. We'll just continue with ULTIMAAX in Europe as our naming convention, but it'll be a 21-ton operation. So we'll have the 26-ton and 21-ton. It's interesting because every country has their own rules, just like we have bridge laws here in North America at state to state. Different lift axle ratings are necessary, different numbers of lift axles. You think of a Michigan Special or something like that. So we started with the 26-ton because that's the best application for Austria and Germany, where MAN is headquartered and where we are headquartered. So that made the most sense. But we are working with MAN right now on validating the 21-ton HALMAX for the European market. It'll obviously be called ULTIMAAX, but we're still probably 24 months away before we have the introduction. Hopefully that will give us time to really get the ULTIMAAX, get some traction going, and develop the reputation for the elastomer suspensions in Europe. Because the key with our design is the ride capability when empty. Our applications of dump and mixer and refuse, they have a lot of empty miles. And a lot of suspensions operate really well when fully loaded. It's when it's empty, you see the trucks bouncing around on the road, that our suspensions give the ride benefit because of the design, the way it's designed in order to maximize the ride comfort while empty. So our customers that have tried the ULTIMAAX are seeing it in Europe. They will continue to use it, and then when we have the 21 ton, we'll use testimonials and all of the other marketing tools that we have to make sure they understand, that customers understand, because the rules, the 21 ton versus 26 ton, are different across the 27 countries in the EU.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, that's always very interesting to me, too, because clearly, even on the OEM truck side, we see how they have this global view. You want to be able to spread this out. It's really interesting here on the supplier side, too, with you sending technology and equipment over there. Usually it happens the other way around in our market, right? So it's cool to see North America going over to Europe. But all those OEMs have global viewpoints, right? How is the experience with Hendrickson here in North America and your relationship with them translated over into the European markets?
It's been really helpful, because if you look at the big four company OEMs here in North America, they all have ties to Europe. And whether it's a European owned or North American owned, we have ties and we have relationships, really good relationships in North America with all of them. So there has been some transfer of the ability to just the open conversation. The fact that we were already a supplier to most of them for the fasteners, stabilizers, and lift axles helped. But when it came to the executive team being able to talk across at IAA or at BAMA, the relationship here in North America gave us the credibility to have the conversations at the highest levels in Europe as well. Our benefits translate everywhere. Ride and weight savings are important no matter where you are in the world, whether it's North America or Europe or India or China, Australia. Weight savings and ride are always important, and that's what we specialize in. So giving the credibility that we have here in North America, it has translated to the OEMs elsewhere. It's just getting the adoption of the dealers and customers that is our next step.
And that can take a little bit of time, right, to understand those. And I kind of want to dive into that. You mentioned maybe some of the technicalities that you had to look at to bring the equipment over to Europe. But what difference do you see, like maybe in the speccing process or even the speccing, kind of mindset they have there in Europe? What are some of the differences and similarities that you notice between North America and Europe?
Luckily, trucking seems to be similar everywhere, right? You have end users that haul things, you have dealers that sell trucks, you have dealers that buy trucks from OEMs and OEMs that manufacture. So the process is exactly the same as it is in North America. We have to work with the OEM to make sure that the product is validated, that it's tested, that they are willing to offer it. We have to have a commercial agreement with a fair price for them that will make sense, and to show them the benefit of what our product will do for their customers. Then the next step is we get a sales code, and that was a huge deal, and we were very excited about it. We are great partners with MAN and can't thank them enough for what they've done for us and what we're doing for them. But then the dealers, right? The dealers are skeptical everywhere. They've done what they've done, and they care about making sure that they provide a product that they are confident in for their customers. And so now we are in the education process with the dealers to make sure they understand what the benefits of the ULTIMAAX suspension is at 26 tons in Europe, and how it will help their customers with their efficiency, with their ride, helping their drivers, et cetera. And then the final step is to convince the end users that this is a product that they should spec, that they want to spec, and they need to have to improve their operation in their business. And that's the same everywhere. It's the same here in Chicago, Illinois, as it is in Graz, Austria. It's the same process, and it takes time. New technology is scary for everyone. The adoption of a new technology in in America, look back at automated transmissions, right? They were introduced about 2001, 2002, and it was a very, very slow adoption rate. It was actually a deduct in a used truck values if you had an automated transmission over time. And today, 100% of highway trucks are spec'd with automated transmissions. It just takes time in this industry to validate with the OEM, validate with the dealer, validate with the end user, and no one jumps in 100%. They try it, they test it, and then off they go, which is one of the strategies that we have to introduce the ULTIMAAX in Europe is that we're doing a lot of ride and drives. We have a demo truck fleet that we are bringing around to customers and dealers all throughout Germany and Austria to start with, and we are getting them the opportunity to drive the truck, feel the truck, understand what the benefits are, because people don't want to buy things, especially with this type of equipment, sight unseen. It is an opportunity for us to move that along. Now, is adoption going as we expected? Kind of, but we'd much rather it just be 100% jump in and trust us. But we understand, having been through this as many times we have in this industry, that never happens. So it has been a good run. We're starting to see some rebuys, as I said, from our end users. And as we can get them to talk to their other fleets in the area, we anticipate that ramp will start to go faster.
Well, Hendrickson, clearly no stranger to building long-term relationships here. I mean, you've done it in the North American market and playing the long game and done a great job at that. So good to hear that relationship building is still very much a core component of playing in the market over in Europe. I do have to ask, though, because one of the things that has been on my radar in the European trucking markets has been sustainability. And in Europe in general, they're being, I guess you could either say progressive or extremely unaggressive in terms of their sustainability in transportation and decarbonization efforts. As you're talking with customers over there, do they look at components like suspensions of having sustainability gains? I mean, you mentioned the lightweighting on the suspensions and the opportunity there. You can improve freight efficiency. Does that come into the conversation at all?
Absolutely. It is probably the second or third thing that comes up in those conversations. It's not just the OEMs; it's the fleets as well that find this important. And then we've got a good story, right? Obviously, like you mentioned, the freight efficiency, the lightweight opportunity with our product. I didn't mention it already, but it's 250 kilograms lighter than the standard suspension that's offered on those types of trucks, the vocational trucks in Europe. We fight for 17 pounds of weight savings here in North America. That's over 500 pounds of weight savings in just with our suspension. The other thing too is we are built with sheet steel, which is from 100% recycled steel, and it is 100% recyclable. So not only is our suspension all from recycled steel, it is 100% recyclable. So everything but the rubber bolsters is recyclable on our suspension. And that's something that they at least acknowledge. It's still molding and bending steel, which takes some energy in order to do that. But the fact that we are able to give them the freight efficiency and the fact that we're 100% recyclable are things that they do take into account as they're talking with us.
Very cool, Jeff. Well, thanks for taking the time. I look forward to talking to you more as more of this rolls out in Europe and we can kind of see what translates between our two markets. Thanks again for taking the time. I'm sure I'll talk to you again very soon.
Jason, it's always a pleasure. Appreciate what you do for the industry, and we will talk soon.